Let's call the meeting to order at 4:00. This meeting is being conducted remotely on account of snow, not so much COVID, but everyone's invited to attend and hear, so we don't want anyone to be snowed. Let me take attendance. Karen Schultz.
Here.
Rachel Boyer will not be. She already indicated she has a conflicting meeting. Lori
Yes.
Fairbay.
Oh, there's
Lori?
Kate.
Here.
There you go. Kate Bliss.
Here.
Oh, good for you. Pat Wheeler is by phone, I hear.
Oh, there she
Okay.
is.
Bob Blair here. Very good. And I see Chris Keefe, and I see Victoria, and I see Carol Costello, all in attendance. For some reason, whenever these meetings go, the bar at the bottom never includes everybody. Maybe I need a double bar. Who knows? That's a computer matter. All right. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting submitted by Karen?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to accept as submitted?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Do I hear a second?
I second. Trevor.
Very good. Let's vote. Karen Schultz,
Aye.
Lori Fairbay,
Aye.
Kate Bliss,
Aye.
Pat Wheeler,
Aye.
Bob Blair, aye. Unanimous. I see Laurie's got her administrative assistant in the background there. That's good. All right, second order of business on this agenda, as proposed, is Carol Costello from the is doing a brief presentation on the school committee's activities and budget and so forth. So we welcome you, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon, everyone. I first wanted to take a moment to, I guess, reintroduce myself to the Berlin community. As acting superintendent of schools, I've been with the district for 15 years. I started out as the Berlin Memorial School principal and was there for 5 years before I moved over to central office. So I'm excited to be in this position. I have a great love of the two towns and really want to do the best that we can for our children in our schools. It has meant a great deal to me. I have a great passion for all of these children, our parents, many that I've gotten to know through the years, and I'm now watching their children graduate that I had as a principal when I first started out there. So we're always trying to improve. We're always trying to find ways to give our children what they need for their future. We're looking, this summer we developed a 3-year plan that focused on the kinds of personnel that we needed for our schools, in both Berlin, Tohoto, and also in Boylston, as well as one district now. We're looking at technology. I was just over with a potential for some private funding to help us support our technology, our devices, and which is so important now to our children, even though it's hard for us to believe, including myself, because when I came to Berlin, technology was kind of that thing you had on the side, when you did when your free time. And it's really become an integral part of what we do in our schools with our children, anywhere from practice to writing, to the MCAS test that they take from 3rd grade on, to research and collecting data on students and the children's research. So technology has become just a part of our children's lives. So we're doing a lot of focusing on technology, and we're also just looking at ways, innovative ways that we can improve. At the high school level, we've been promoting internships. We'll be starting our actual internship program next year. This year, we're running a career fair at Tohoto. That is, I believe, in March. inviting community members to show what they've been doing in their careers and how to get there and how they got there. And their children in the high schools will be able to stop at their booth, get to learn a little bit about what might interest them and what path they need to take to go into those fields. So I would also say, we're in a, as far as the budget, we met last night with the FinCom and the school committee. We are trying to work out a reasonable budget. Towns, it's always challenging in these, they're tough times right now for all of us. So we're trying to work out a respectful, manageable budget for the townspeople. So we're in the throes of that at this point. I will offer that I'm already, if you don't have these dates yet, I've spoken to Evie and Kate is on, I see today, right? I'm coming over to 19 Carter on March 24th. That's a Friday at 11 o'clock, and also April 1st at that, which is a Saturday at 11 o'clock, to meet with the community. I mean, I'd like to reconnect people that I've cared so deeply about, and also get to know some more new families that have come into town. So that's at least one way I can start to reach out to the community. As far as the Council on Aging, one of the things that I would encourage that I miss about Berlin Memorial School and I miss seeing happen is volunteerism. We used to have, before COVID, a wonderful SOAR program going on over there, which we had our seniors coming in and reading to the children. I'd love to see if you're interested in volunteering to do that kind of work also in our libraries, and really any ways that you would like to become part of that school community. So that's what I would ask. I guess I wanted to, again, introduce and reintroduce myself and to talk with you and to hear some ideas that you've been thinking about, you might have, or questions you have for me about how we can connect the population to back to our schools again, so we can feel strong about our community representation from all aspects. So I wonder if you had any questions for me, or if you had any ideas.
Don't everyone speak at once.
I think something, Carol, that we were thinking of doing was a pen pal program with some of the students and some of the seniors. And it just, I think the timing just hasn't worked out previously. And I'm hoping that that is something that we could definitely do, especially during winter time when we know that our seniors are going to be home. And, something to have, especially, when you're in the thick of winter. I think it would be something that would be really, really beneficial, as you had mentioned, for the collaboration.
And I love that idea. I'll tell you, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, who are 87 and live in Paxton, part of the Pen Pal program in Paxton, they're doing exactly that. Not only does it connect the elders in the community to the young people, they get to share their lives with one another. They get to find out what their lives were like. It's almost like a history of their town, of their people. And it also gives it, not to mention, it's great for the writing skills for the children, right? To be able to write letters, to communicate with other people. And then they actually have their pen pals come in, right? To meet them, to meet the students in the schools. So I love that idea. That would be one way to connect. If you're interested in doing something like that, we can connect and work on that.
Maybe we could share our cursive writing skills.
Well, funny you should say that, because we have a large, just kind of, I don't want to say a argument, discussion. There's mixed feelings with that, because we all learned to do cursive writing. What happened, I was giving this example today at a presentation we were doing, these students are using their devices, the technology. This year in the MCAS, the last MCAS, we noticed our scores went down in writing in the 3rd grade significantly. We couldn't figure out, these children know how to write. I mean, they can write pretty well. Why were they so unsuccessful? And then we realized it wasn't that they couldn't write, they couldn't keyboard. So because they have to do their tests online, they didn't know how to capitalize, a lot of them, how to use the grammar, how to do the spell check. Those are all the skills that we have to teach. So we're always trying to weigh, first of all, I think they need to learn how to write, penmanship anyway. It's like, where do we writing and the keyboarding into the school day every day? So, and the cost, so you're right, that's an ongoing debate that we have. I think some of the teachers are still teaching cursive writing, but it's unfortunate, but it's shifting over more toward the time for keyboarding, which is essential to their world, necessarily our world. So,
Carol, when's the next school committee meeting?
the next school committee meeting is March 7th. It's next Tuesday. At this time, we are planning to vote on the budget. At that point, the school committee will be voting on the budget. And then there are other things that we were discussing that we have on the agenda for that meeting.
Okay. Perfect. Does anybody have any
Oh.
questions?
Yeah, only I tuned in the meeting with the school board, FinCom, and selectmen last night, and the budget is a major issue at the moment. How do you see that progressing toward the solution that I think the select board clearly indicated was their preference?
Yeah. I think after our meeting last night, it was a sobering meeting for us in trying to get I guess an understanding of what we need, first on the practical side, what we need to do next. And I think the overriding question or overarching question I keep saying is, what, at some point our towns need to decide what do we want for our schools and for our children, like, because the cost is going up so significantly, and we're all trying to figure out how we're going to maintain the cost of these schools. We've faced, and I think you heard last night, Bob, significant increases, for example, in our special education. We keep bringing this up, out of district costs. When we put together our initial plans for the budget, beginning, oh my goodness, well, it started with the 3-year plan this summer, and then it moved into all the way to the fall, starting to plan for our budget. We did not anticipate these costs coming through. They blindsided us significantly, and we're mandated to pay those costs, and I honor the fact that we should be paying those costs as a public school system. That's our job, to educate all of our children. On the practical side, it's difficult to figure out how to balance that budget and cover those costs, and then to do the things that we want to do, and the things that we've maintained well through the years. We're finding that in the budget process, that even the things that we wanted to do, the dreams that we had to move the district forward, have been, at least for this year, not attainable. We're moving down toward a level service budget that's still far more than the towns feel comfortable supporting at this time. I mean, because of where the towns are sitting. So we literally have worked on it. I think we had the discussions last night afterward, and I was just meeting with our school chair and another member of the committee, my finance director, right up into the meeting started today. She and I were looking at where we could bring the budget down, what we would need to let go of, and who we would need to let go of in order to make this budget work for this year. So it's been a particularly difficult year for all of us, but we're working on it.
I'm wondering if your budget projections have taken into account the proposals by our new Governor Healy to fully fund Chapter 70 expenses for the school systems, which is one of the major drivers of a need for increased budgets. I mean, that's a huge chunk of weight off the back of the taxpayers and the school districts. and also transportation costs, which are being supported heavily in her budget. They haven't been voted yet by the state legislature, those proposals. And in fact, I, as I hope other members of this group and the public at large will do, is contacted both Meg Kilcoyne and Senator Kennedy, asking their full support for the governor's increased budgets in those two areas, which are a big chunk of your financial burden.
It absolutely is, Bob. First of all, we've gotten some money increase in Chapter 70 money, but it's not enough to cover the costs that we need. And we're not alone in this. I mean, these are districts all over the Commonwealth that are struggling, particularly the size of our towns that kind of fall in that middle ground between, the very wealthy town communities and then the cities that do get substantial funding. But I will tell you that when we were over in Boylston for our meeting with them, probably about a month ago, we actually had Representative Kilcoyne and Senator Kennedy at that meeting and practically begged them to help us with these exorbitant prices that we are facing. So we were able to give them figures. And after that, our school committee chair reached out to both of them and they responded for their help, for their assistance. They're being invited back again. We have a meeting Monday night before our school committee meeting on Tuesday. We've invited, the Board of Selectmen has invited them again to meet with us. It's really critical that we get some relief because it feels like we are so heavy with this burden. When does the bottom drop out on us? And we're already seeing what we have to do this year. That's what I said, what we were looking at before I got on this meeting today, what cuts we're going to need to make ends meet. It's really been challenging.
So would
I'm
you
hoping
say if
we
those,
get some substantial.
so would you say if the legislature does in fact pass the governor's proposals and those two areas are in one instance have fully covered and in another substantially supported, that would enable you to get the budget down to where the select board and FinCom think it needs to be at around 6% max?
Yeah, I think
As
that's
an
going
increase.
to lighten our load significantly, our burden significantly. But right
Okay,
now, lots of conversation about it, but I haven't seen the money yet. So we're
That's right.
hopeful, but we
show me
can't.
the green.
Show me the money. I was going to say that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly it. We at this point we can't depend on that. We're hopeful, but we have to proceed as if we don't have that money in hand at this point.
I think one thing I feel strongly is I would never want a situation to arrive where we feel that the school parents and the school students and the school department end up being pitted against everybody else, including seniors who are a tiny part of the budget, squabbling over the money that's available to be spent. So I hope this does get worked out and amicably.
Carol, thank you. We really do appreciate your time.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to finish by saying, and I realize you have other things on the agenda, Bob, I worry about that too. As I said when I started today, and I will say over and over again, I love these two towns, the community as a whole, from the littlest little of them to the eldest elder. And I don't want to ever see that happen. I probably worry about that more than anything, that we maintain the
Right.
positive relationships we've always had, and this community spirit that gives us our identity. That's our identity, right? So I don't want, to see the money come between us. And so that's what we're trying to figure out, how to make this work so that we can help each other in the end. We're trying to help each other to make this all come together to work for our children, not only this year, but in the years to come, right? Because we're going to solve it this year, maybe, but who knows what next year is going to bring thereafter. We have a sustainable solution to this. I don't know what it is at this point. Tough. So thank you for your time. If I'll continue the conversation with you. Like I said, March 24th, I'm over at 19 Carter. I'm happy to come back again. I didn't want to show you numbers and budgets. I didn't have a lot of time today. I realized to do it, and I don't feel that's a nature. I did want to just introduce myself, and please welcome you to reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with you privately too. So don't hesitate to that.
Thank you
And-
for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
And the next meeting, as Carol said, is on next Tuesday on the 7th. So we would encourage if anybody has any specific questions, again, please attend that meeting as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Carol.
you, Carol.
Thank you, everyone.
Shuffle, shuffle. I'm looking at my, there it is.
Just out of
Hey.
curiosity, was her sound cutting in and out for everybody else?
Yes.
Okay. I
Very
felt
much
like I
so.
was missing some key things, but not much you can do about it.
Yeah, wait, about that.
Yeah. I'm all for connecting the seniors and the kiddos together, though.
Absolutely. And the reading program is terrific. I know, well, I don't know that it specifically involves seniors, but when my wife taught for many years, one of the projects the kids in the class would do is create books. And they had their own books and others participated in it, but they were acknowledged for their, which actually became take-home objects. It wasn't just something theoretical. They actually created books. And I think that's, if the seniors could help with that, that would be terrific too. Maybe we could be a chapter in one of their books. Who knows?
Oh, what about Bob?
No,
That would be great. Yeah, that's a. Robinsons.
Laurie has a consultant there in the room. So we should have tapped him and asked him for his input on this.
He
Or would
loves,
that have been a mistake, Laurie?
he loves Technology Tuesday. It's his favorite.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I have to say, same with our kids. And the technology piece is definitely presenting a challenge. I think even when they practice math or whatever, it's always online through an app, and your scores are affected by, you can have a fat finger moment and you've blown the answer to a question, and
Yeah.
where you know how to write that 9 perfectly. So it's great, and it is the future, but it does have some challenges.
It ain't just kids.
Yeah.
I find I erase and go back and correct the wrong letter that my pudgy fingers got there. That's annoying, could say. Well, that was good. I enjoyed that. And I do encourage everyone to contact Meg Kilcoyne and our Senator Kennedy and encourage them to support the governor's budget increases for education. They do, it's at least on paper, what I see is that it fully funds Chapter 70 costs. And it provides a big increase in support for transportation in the schools, both of which are big budget items. So much for that. All right, fiscal updates from her nibs.
All right,
that would
Karen,
be
you
the-
ready?
I'm ready.
My wages for the month are $2,580.24. Part-time wages are $992.37. Expenses are $606.60. And donations are $87.
Can you just repeat expenses?
$606.60.
60. Okay. Got it.
And what were they on mostly?
Mostly yoga bills.
Mostly
Older
what?
bills?
Yoga.
Yoga. Okay. All right. And how about the programs that are being run now, Tai Chi, yoga, blood pressure clinics?
And Van. So it's not been a great month. Our Tai Chi instructor was out sick for 2 weeks, and then of course today's snow, we canceled. So we've only had Tai Chi once this month. And the van is currently only running 2 days a week. One of our drivers is out on a medical leave. So I have to wait for them to get cleared to come back. The driver that we do have has asked for a week off, that's been granted, for a personal matter. So the week of St. Patrick's Day, we're not going to have any van service unless our other driver gets medically cleared to come back. I've talked to Chief McQuillan, and we do have a request out on the fire side to see if any of the firefighters who are per diem may want to pick up some shifts to cover any rides that we may have scheduled. But at this point, we haven't heard anything. So the riders have been good. They've been adapting. They've been very flexible with us. So we've been able to keep the van going for, some of the medical appointments and for grocery shopping. The weather's not helping, but it just kind of is what it is. So I'm hopeful that our other driver will be back soon. But until their next medical appointment, I'm not going to know more.
How many people are we taking now in the van? We're filling it up or no?
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point now where, like, for grocery ones, we're taking, at most 3-4 people at a time. The medical rides are still kind of just one-offs because unless we're having 2 people going in the same direction at the same time, it just, whoever got it first got it. We have had instances where we've had 2 people request at the same time, but they're going in 2 different directions and we can't take them. So we've then encouraged them to see if they can reschedule their appointments or move them so we can try to help them. And in some cases we can do it, but it's just the shortfall that we have.
I would assume it also has to do with how much in advance of the appointments they ask for the ride, so we can try to shuffle things around, get them.
I mean, if we
what
have
they need to
multiple
be.
people going in the same direction, we do try to accommodate, even if one person's got to go very early, or if one person may have to wait a few extra minutes while we drop somebody off, we will try to make those accommodations. But I mean, if the appointments are in 2 absolutely completely different directions, we just can't.
Yeah. And how about van upkeep? Is that thing still giving us a hard time?
Last I heard from Colonial, the sensors still aren't in yet. It's everything else, I think mechanically is okay at this point. But just to remind you all, the van is out of warranty starting June. So anything that would have been covered maintenance wise is now going to be costing. So we're just going to have to take it as it goes.
Well, but everybody who owns a vehicle expects that, so we shouldn't be surprised. Have we experienced particularly heavy costs to date that have been covered by the warranty?
Nothing that's been a couple of the sensors have already been replaced, covered by warranty. We had an alignment done at the end of January and an oil change. We had to pay for that, but it wasn't that bad. But I mean, I'm just starting to think too that probably we're gonna have to start pricing out tires and things like that. Just not that the van's necessarily got a ton of miles on it, but I'm just thinking that, our wear out items are going to wear out sooner rather than later. So I'm starting to.
The issue we were having with the leak in the roof, that's resolved.
Fixed. Yeah, that's fixed.
We might ask Freddie and company to look underneath and see if it's at the point where it needs to be re-undercoated as well. That would prevent some unnecessary damage.
Yeah, I don't want to add more to Fred and Highway's plate right now, but what we can do is, as of right now, it is still being stored in the old highway barn, so it's not being exposed to the elements beyond just the rides that it's on.
Right. But that's what rusted, is all the salt and crud on the
Right.
roads.
So what we can,
Could we resolve that a little bit with a nice undercarriage wash?
yeah, we'll have to see if any of even one of the the local mechanics, or I don't even know if any of the local car washes have the clearance, because the van has an E for clearance. We can see if they have it. Like I said, I don't want to add more onto highway if I don't have to.
Well, I'm 100% on board with that because Freddie gets a lot of stuff dumped in his lap, but I wasn't talking about them undercoating it. I was just talking about them going under and saying, oh yeah, we really should undercoat it because the place in Sterling undercoated it the first time, did a good job. And it was a 1-day turnaround.
I can get their information and just see, if they have any particular things too, they may recommend, every year, every other year or something like that, it gets undercoated, and we'll just have to start adding that into the budget then, if that's the case.
Well, if you're the undercoating company, you recommend it every 3 weeks, but we can be realistic and get Freddie's input on that because I'm sure he'd have a more Berlin friendly recommendation to make. Blood pressure clinics keeping up.
Still, yep, it's still scheduled for Thursday morning, so,
This
Yep.
Thursday should be okay weather-wise. Friday's supposed to turn crummy.
Friday afternoon is when it turns crummy.
Yeah. In terms of actually, one of the things when you list under item 4, Tai Chi yoga, blood pressure, and van updates, you don't mention Meals on Wheels. Something about that, but that's actually been going okay, except for a little strangeness at the supply end. We actually been getting the right number of meals and getting them out. We distributed last night, in fact, just on Victoria's recommendation to avoid what's going on now. But when they do that, you get these supplemental meals that isn't from the supplier who also puts in milk and fruit and some other little goodies. So those got added, and they got 2 frozen meals and the other stuff they need. So they're covered for this. At one point, they supplied shelf stable, basically dry supplies. They don't have to be refrigerated. It's a can of the Dinty Moore stew and some other stuff, but it's packages that they can use in case they get cut off from delivery. So I actually inquired about that yesterday when we picked up the frozens, but the supplemental frozens, but they don't have them in stock. So I think maybe we or Mock might reach out to them and ask them to get those back in stock so we can have them on hand.
Yeah, I can reach out to our contact over at Mock. They're very kind of hit or miss meals, like Bob said, they're prepackaged foods like stews, soups, things like that, but not, I would say like as a whole, they're very hit or miss depending on the person. So, but I mean, if they get more, we'll certainly take them to get them distributed.
Budget.
Yes, so here is where we are at. So I've been doing some numbers for just the rough FY24 budgets that I wanted to talk to you guys about. The reason why I'm bringing this up now is I think financially we will be okay for the rest of FY23. I'm not worried about that per se, but I'm worried about just kind of going forward, how we want, what priorities the council has. So the reason why I'm stating this is that through the formula grant every year through 2030, the state is going to give us $14,472 to help us with any costs, expenses, things like that come up.
That's a flat rate, or does it?
That's a flat rate. Nope, it's a flat rate. It only changes with the decade census. So hypothetically, Berlin could become all senior tomorrow, and we're not going to get any more money until they do the next decade census.
So this is until when? Every year until?
Probably 2030.
Okay.
I think that's a decade end way of budgeting. It should actually go up with cost of living or other increases.
We're not going into that, but I hear you. So this second number here is what we've been budgeted this year for expenses. So 14 and 186. So when you add them together, we're looking at 28,658 for total potential budget that we have that we can use. I'm looking at what our expenses are in general, the things that we have designated as being something that we want to have going, like the powder house, the Tai Chi yoga classes, van service, the gas for it, Meals on Wheels, driver, reimbursement rates, things like that. And I'm getting nervous, guys, because the reality is that the budget that we have is not going up, obviously, with cost of living and inflation, as Bob has mentioned. And I want to make sure that if we can't do everything we want to do, that we have kind of a prioritized list of like, this is the stuff like like the needs versus wants almost. Tai Chi and yoga, they have not increased their rates since I've started. And they might, I'm not saying that they're going to, but they've both been very generous in, kind of keeping the flatter rate, knowing, the clientele that they have. And as a whole, just things that I'm looking at in terms of costs. As of right now, if we had to pay for the powder house for the issues out of pocket, we're looking at $5,000. And then we're looking at another $3,000 alone for postage, potentially.
So it's $8,000.
Yeah. Tai Chi and yoga are each $2,600. MCOA dues, you have to pay them. They're about $300 a year, give or take. Mock donations they ask for every year come July 1st. That's budgeting about $450. Gas, as of right now, I'm budgeting $3,000 for the van. The Mobility Works wheelchair mechanism service every year is about $300. I'm budgeting $2,000 just for van services. We may or may not need it, but I want to have it in case, again, because the van is going to be out of warranty soon. I want to make sure we have that set aside. Meal and Wheel driver reimbursement, we're looking at about $600. Office supplies for me are $200 just to have a budget for it. And then as of right now, my senior center, the costs, if this is something that I'm talking to Kristen about, the My Senior Center software that was purchased, that contract, the original contract, went through June 30th. So starting July 1st, we would be on the hook for it, $900 for the software. This does not include any grab and go, which we're looking at between $2,000 and $2,200 each time we do it. The Tower Hill that Bob was looking at, it's $150 a year. That Join Pro presentation that I had talked to you guys about last year, and that's between $150 to $200. The other thing with the postage as well is that we ran into a snag. I think it's temporarily resolved, but basically the way that we're publishing Powder House right now is we're using the town bulk rate permit that we're splitting the costs of. The thought is that if you use the bulk rate permit, we have to pay for part of the permit itself to have it. It's about $90 a year. And when you use that permit, you technically get the bulk rates. So it's slightly cheaper per mailing. We had a snag a few weeks ago with the post office saying that they didn't think that our mailing was appropriate for the bulk mailer and that we would have to apply for our own. So if we had to do that, we're looking at $300 a year for that rate, plus then the postage itself. I've talked to Kristen about it. It's something we're looking into, is seeing if even just getting a postage meter and just paying for the postage that way might be easier in the long term for us to just, take a Powder House, feed it through the meter, pay for it, go, and we're on our way.
Why do they say it's not appropriate for a bulk mail?
Well, I think when I had talked to the person originally, they were saying that I guess the original designation of that, when it was created, it was thought that permit was for voting purposes. But we've explained to them that no, we use it and it's there for any of the town departments. So Lori changed the postage square on the Powder Houses to reflect the changes that they wanted to see. So like I said, I think that this problem is technically alleviated, but the concern that I do have also is that postage is going to go up every January and July 1st. And we don't know how much it's going to be. So the other caveat to this is that we got the updated census list for those over 60, and we have added 100 households since last year.
Is there any way to see if certain seniors could opt for like an online version? in
So
either-
that is what we are asking. But this is why I'm asking you guys your needs versus your wants. Because while I want to do everything like I know all of you do as well, financially, it's not possible. I can't recommend, we do have like a rainy day fund from previous formula grants that we didn't spend. But, once that's gone, it's gone. And I don't want to make recommendations to you guys to fund services that are gonna put us in the red. So we do get donations as of right now. Those are still there. We do have that funding available, but again, it's not a bankable guaranteed amount that we're going to get every year. So I'm not saying that we can't do stuff. I'm not saying that, we have to drastically cut everything, but I just want to know as a whole as to what you guys are thinking of the needs versus the wants. So I know then what to prioritize going forward.
And in fact, we're holding up getting the Powder House News over to the printer because of, you feel you need to have a decision from the board as to whether or not they want to continue the Powder House News.
No, I'm worried about the fact that when we had sent out the letters for sponsorship, we were originally quoting 750 issues because when we were with Clinton, when we were with LPI, we were mailing out about 650 and we had 100 extra to use
Right.
for distribution for various places. Now
Yeah.
we're at 750 households, period. So do we want to now add another 100? Do we want to add another 50? Do we not want to add anything? I didn't want to make that decision without talking to you guys because, as you all know, Berlin's population is going to continue to age and we're only going to get more senior households. So it's kind of like, where do we stop? Do we continue to send Powder House News out to all the senior households? Do we ask people, like, if you don't want it, let us know, we'll take you off all of our lists? Do we offer, we do have about 10 people that we're offering the Powder House News to by mail that don't have a Berlin address. Do we take them out? Do we start asking people for a donation to continue to get the Powder House News printed and mailed to them? I'm just trying to get a sense for what you guys would want, because as of right now, sponsorship will cover the March, April issue, and it will cover maybe a little bit of May, June, but sustainably, it's hard. Kristen has talked to the department heads and has warned us all that depending on what happens on town meeting, our budgets are going to be re-examined. So I can't go to other departments and ask them to help us with funding for this if we're all looking at a potential budget cut. So that's why, I'm asking you guys, what is the priority?
Do we get a sense of the places that you drop off the extra 100 that we've now lost because we've gained 100 households? How many of those they actually distribute? Because I mean,
So,
I can
yeah.
speak to 19 Carter. We end up recycling a good many of them.
So I would say what I had been doing is that they've been going to general store and post office. I think the post office, they do get grabbed as a whole. General store, not as much. I had left a bunch out at the town offices and quite a few do get taken, but like you said, we also do have an excess. I do think
19 Carter is different where people come in, they read the paper and then they
and then
leave
they put it back,
to the
right?
next person. So
Exactly.
I feel like maybe one copy at 19 Carter.
No, and I'm with you. And like I
Rest are-
said, I know that there's going to be some seniors that they're like, they want this, like they want it mailed to them, like they look forward to it. They're actively involved with the council. And I know we also have some seniors that aren't as involved. Do we look at, do we send something out, not necessarily in this issue of the Powder House, but maybe the main June one, and say, listen, do you really want to continue receiving this by mail? Do you want to continue receiving it? Because I'm not 100% sure everybody may or may not be taking full advantage of it.
Yeah.
And if that means, do we then start making it purely black and white? Do we make it 6 pages back like we had it originally with LPI and make it down to 6 pages as opposed to the 8? little things like this could potentially add up. Do we start delivering some of them? Like I was taking a look, almost 90 of them alone are going to Northbrook. Do we take those 90 out of the circulation for postage and just deliver them? You know, one block goes to Northbrook 2, one block goes to Northbrook 1, and we're done there. I mean, like I said, they're small little things, but when you look at kind of the bigger picture, they could save a little bit of money.
Right. I
So-
think of how much money between the printing and the postage, it's crazy.
And a 6-pager isn't gonna save you money, because usually when a 6-pager is made, it's like a bigger piece of paper. So I don't know if that's gonna cost more versus the. like,
I think the way that Clinton Offset told me is if we wanted to do a 6-pager, they would do it almost like a 4 and then have an insert.
insert, okay.
Single page. Yeah. So you'd be working off one 17 by 22 and one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
So
11 by
Is that
7.
right? Then it gets folded and then,
so
well,
Is it crazy to carve up the list of households and make calls the way we have in the past for other things?
we can. I mean, like I said, I do know that there are people out there that desperately want this mail to them, that they truly enjoy, and I don't want to take that away from anybody.
Right.
We're not hitting a money tree. So I also want to be mindful too that, you know, if this is where a chunk of the money's going, you know, I mean, I know people love the grab and go meals, and that, you know, like they're always a big hit. And we're not, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, we're getting the supplement that we are, because I mean, like you said, like Berlin is a huge population that's senior. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we're doing the best that we can to meet the needs of as many seniors as we can. And again, we know the seniors that we have that, you know, really use our services, they need them, and I don't want to deprive them of that either. But I know we also have seniors that are thankful that we're here, but they're not necessarily actively involved, or they feel like at this point they don't need anything, but if they need us, they're going to call me. And that's the general sense that I'm getting is, you know, we got kind of both lanes here. So
what, have you reached out to other COA directors and asked how they handle some of these costs?
they have a
Tai
friend.
Chi and yoga, do they make a fee and that pays for it as opposed to
some of them-
making it subsidized?
So some of them have a friend group, like for example, Northborough's friends group pays for their newsletter. I do know most of the senior centers do have a charge. So that would involve us getting a revolving fund back in the mix again. And then if we did get a revolving fund, that's funds we'd have to use by the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
But again, it's like, I know in the past we've been hesitant, you know, we have the suggested donations because we've been hesitant about charging. And again, I'm not saying that there's one solution to this, you know, but it could be something again, you know, that we can explore. I'm thinking like as a whole, you know, when people come in for Tai Chi yoga, we get donations. People are very good about that. I don't have to remind them. We do have some people in the van that they can't, and we're never going to begrudge a ride because of it. But we have some people who religiously, as soon as they get on the van, yep, here you go, or the check's in the mail. And we have that. I mean, grab and go, yeah, they cost, but again, we get donations back from that usually. The powder houses, I think, is the one thing that it's like, it's a huge cost, but nothing necessarily coming back. So then, you know, do we want to ask people for like an $8 or $10 donation a year to receive a powder house mailed to them?
Okay, but with the Powder House News, supposedly we either get sponsorships or ads that pay for those costs. So what's happening with that?
So at the sponsorship level, we've got 6 sponsors. Most of them are, you know, they're at this point, I don't know how much more in terms of sponsorship we're going to get in terms of like the smaller farms and the smaller businesses in town are doing their best. I truly think that, and we have been getting support from them, but they're the smaller entities. Bigger entities, we haven't had much success yet.
I think it would behoove us to, whoever was speaking.
Are we getting enough to pay for an issue?
We got enough to pay for one issue, yes, and then we've got one continued one that's gonna sponsor some of the costs for every issue going forward.
Okay,
I wonder if we need, if we, go ahead, look.
sorry.
after you.
Have you approached the owner of Spooky World?
So as of this point, I don't know how much the Stevens family is contributing to the town.
I wouldn't do that right now. It's
Yeah.
touchy right now.
Yeah,
That's my thought.
He's quite PO'd at the town.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if, I'd certainly like to hear anybody else's thought on this, but I wonder if we should form a 2 or 3 person committee to study all the issues around the Powder House News. Cost of publishing, cost of distributing, whether we go print or otherwise to some households. I think instead of just leaving the thing lying there and gathering angst, I think we ought to study it and come up with a recommendation for the
and
board.
I'm not too worried about it for this fiscal year. Like, I think the March, April issue will be fine. And I think honestly, the May, June issue will be okay. I'm just trying to think going forward.
Yeah.
What do we
So
want to do?
that's, I think a committee would help with that. Anybody want to do that? I'd certainly be
I'll do
willing to
that
work
with
on
you, Bob.
Yeah, I can
it.
help.
Okay,
Can do it.
good.
I bet we could get, I mean, not significantly down numbers, but just figuring out who actually pays attention to it and then figuring out who would be open to going to an online version.
Because that's what I've noticed a lot of towns are doing. Like, for example, like I live in Shrewsbury and we get the Community Advocate and they publish, I think, one issue in paper a quarter, but then like any other updates, you just get online and you just get the updates that way and it's much faster. I also want to be sensitive to the fact that I know not every senior is technologically gifted. So I don't, like I said, that's why I don't want to take that away from somebody either.
Right,
No.
right.
So
Right.
Does the
yeah.
Shrews-
it's
does
just,
the
it's just the
Shrews-
balance.
does the
Right.
Shrews-
right,
Who
totally.
funds the Shrewsbury pub?
Community Advocate, I think, is Westboro, Shrewsbury, Northborough, and Southborough.
I mean,
They-
who pays for it?
I think that, I mean, the towns do, they coordinate it.
They don't have ads.
I
I
think
can't
there are,
remember. If there are, like, it's not like, I don't remember seeing a ton of them. I can't remember, to be honest, offhand.
I think there's.
There might be a couple.
I really thought there were ads in there. I haven't looked at one recently. I'd have to pick up another
Yeah.
copy.
And I'm
Yeah,
thinking about the Bolton, what is it, the Bolton Bee or Buzz or something like that?
Yeah,
That's LPI.
it's LPM.
Oh, right. So they solicit the ads. Well, one thing that got mentioned, I mean, the committee ought to discuss all this instead of eating up the meeting right now, but I know one of the things that got mentioned was something that just flew out of my head, so never mind. We'll have the committee work on it. Speak about the Bolton bee and buzzing. There it goes. All right. Are we okay on this subject for the moment? And also, are we able to go forth and publish and distribute the Powder House News, which is now going to be going out late?
So do you guys want to release an extra 100 issues to bring it up to 850? What number, how many?
Fif-
Because we're gonna
50.
need the 750.
I would
Would
do
you
it.
just another 50?
Yeah,
Okay,
well, for
Right.
my part, I'm not the committee. Let's vote on it, or let's
well,
ask
I mean,
everybody. Just a moment. Wait a minute.
I don't know if that necessarily needs a vote, but
No,
I'm
it doesn't
fine
have
with
to be.
going down to
Karen Schultz,
50.
what do you think, Karen Schultz?
I think 50 is great. That'll work.
Okay, Lori,
I think 50 is enough.
Kate,
50 is enough.
Pat? Pat
Okay,
Wheel-
50
Good,
is
okay.
fine.
And moi
Also,
aussi, so,
oh, hold on. Go ahead, Pat.
also, has anybody thought about using the printing service from Assabet Valley?
I can reach out to them. I can reach out to them, Pat, and see if that would be an option.
Well, okay. I
but
think
also,
time.
Okay.
Also, whether or not they fold and seal the edges and put the
Right.
thingy and mail it and all that stuff, because that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Okay,
Okay. I will get it
So
over
we-
to, I'll get it over to Clinton Offset in the morning.
okay, so we have an official publication committee. First meeting be tonight at 7:30. Is everybody, okay, never mind, we won't go there. All right. But we will
We're
get
all
together
snowed
soon.
in, so.
Yeah, right.
That's my
Okay.
bedtime, Bob.
Hope- Hopefully, yeah, hopefully snowed in, but not snowed, as it were. So I think we've beaten the Powder House News to death. And you mentioned the postage meter.
Yep.
What events do we have upcoming?
So beyond what's going on with the Berlin seniors, we're going to have a webinar on the 16th of March with Crystal Ortiz over at Northbrook 2. I'm going to do a presentation about just housing, public housing, and just kind of getting some more information out there for people, like how to apply, getting some feedback from Crystal as to, kind of waiting lists and things like that.
Is that
we-
also publicized to Northbrook 1, or is that only for Northbrook 2 people?
It's for anybody in town. The plan is for it. I'm asking her to join just so she can kind of share like the process as a whole, just so people can understand.
Yeah.
And then on the 24th of March, we have a presentation scheduled with Home Instead, virtually in the afternoon with one of their reps. They do basically hire for help private pay, like home care services, like if you needed it. But they also have a program too, where they also talk to people who are thinking of retiring. And if people wanted to go and, do some work for them as like some part-time income, you can do that as well. So
Where would
Some-
that be held, or is it virtual?
it's gonna be virtual. Yep.
Okay.
And then I'm
But-
working on, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask what time.
I think we said either 1 or 2 o'clock. I just gotta confirm.
I'll
And
leave
then-
that out.
And then I've got one more presentation, hopefully on the 27th. I'm just waiting for confirmation. So once that's done, I'll let you guys know.
And the Berlin Seniors Cooperative Endeavors, we have,
Well, we have a few. One is the Abby Kelly Foster. She's coming
Right.
up. I can't,
no, not.
I'm
Abby
not Abby
Kelly.
Kelly Foster. What was her name again? I'm sorry. Miss
Um,
Lydeck.
Clara Barton.
Claire Barton, that's right. So the same lady who did the Abby Kelly Foster, that's coming up, I think, in May. And then there's the
Wait, the
Honky Tonk
Clara
Piano
Honky
Man.
Tonk.
Barton in May
Clara Barton.
is in May. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
And this stuff all appears in the March, April Powder House News that's coming out as well. So there's a write-up about them, but just for our own edification now. So the second is the Honky Tonk Piano Man at 1870, and the third is, drum roll,
Berlin's Got Talent. So we're still figuring out all the details of that. So stay tuned.
so check out the taps on your shoes and your flexibility of your wrists for your drum routine. Let's see what we can come up with. There's a lot of talent in town. It would be fun to see it on the stage.
Sorry.
What
to
will be
be-
your talent, Bob?
Right. You've seen me take tickets, have you? Yeah, that's,
I was thinking more like stand-up comedy.
yeah, right. Mine is more like lie down comedy. You start in with it and people say lie down or sit
Oh
down.
my
something like
gosh. Anyways.
that. Anyway, so those three things should be a lot of fun, I think. If you haven't seen the
Honky Tonk one?
Honky Tonk Piano Man, it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be at the
think it's in-
18,
When?
1970, and I think it's in June. I don't remember the date offhand.
and it's in the 1870 in the town hall.
Yeah.
In the old town, on the stage, which is good.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen him before, he performed last time, he performed for the Berlin Seniors when we were having the lunches at the First Parish Church once a month. And man, it didn't look like a senior crowd. Everybody's rocking and stomping and clomping the tables and clapping. It was fun. It was a good show. All right, enough of the sales. Any other business?
The only other thing, guys, is the UMass Community Needs Assessment Surveys have gone out. The link and QR code are available to be completed till St. Patrick's Day. For the seniors over 60, they have gotten a mailed packet. It's hefty, but you can complete it and then it gets mailed right back to Boston. So, yeah. So if anybody, we encourage everyone and anyone to please participate in that. No one's going to see the results. We'll get a final tally at the end of how many people and what they think.
Super. Does anyone else have any additional or new information or requests or showing off your talents for the Berlin Scott show? No previews, huh? Okay. You'll be the
Oh, it'll be a
surprise.
surprise.
Yeah. All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, let's see. Our next meeting is
March 28th, guys.
Me.
So
March 28th, 4 p.m. at the same time and station. Very good. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a
Second.
second?
I second.
Tremendous. Good. Ruben seconded. All right. All those in favor? Karen Schultz,
Aye.
Aye.
Lori Fairbay,
Aye.
Aye.
Kate Bliss,
Aye.
Pat Wheeler,
Aye.
Bob Blair. Aye. Okay. It's unanimous. Thank you all so much.